Mark Rogers TV on college football and what may become soon a weekly top 25 rant, because if these voters don't get smarter, then we're just going to have to talk about this each and every week. Who votes on the top 25 in college football? Well, I know who votes on the top 25 in college football. Most of them don't deserve a vote. Do they know anything about college football? Okay, let's just be realistic and logical. Okay, you go into the preseason having an understanding of what happened last year, personnel losses, personnel gains at times through freshman classes, and then there are projections through the preseason poll. My son actually said to me the other day, "Dad, why don't they just take last season's last final poll and make that the number one poll, the preseason poll for the next year? That would be the most fair." He's right. That would be the most fair. Or don't have a preseason poll and wait till at least one game is played before you start ranking teams. But now we are 3 games deep into the season, so those projections should be out the window. It should be based solely on what's happened on the field. I know it's only a 3-game sample, and because most teams don't play anyone out of conference, it's difficult, but there are some obvious goofs in the top 25. Let's just start with head-to-head play. Isn't that the best and most simple and the most valid way to determine who's better out of 2 teams? Now, if a 3-7 team beats an 8-2 team, sure, the 8-2 team should still be ranked ahead of the 3-7 team. I understand that. But early in the season, we're talking about teams with the same records that have played. So right off the bat, it's pretty easy. Georgia and South Carolina, they played a pretty big game last Saturday. South Carolina won. Georgia's 1-1. South Carolina's 2-1. Georgia's ranked 13th in the AP poll. South Carolina's number 14. Georgia 13, South Carolina 14. They just played Saturday. South Carolina won the game. What is wrong with these people? And on top of that, South Carolina actually won another game over a quality opponent in East Carolina by 10 points, a team that turned around and beat Virginia Tech. That makes no sense. Okay, Stanford and USC, they played. And on top of that, with the Georgia-South Carolina game, South Carolina won the game at Georgia. What's Georgia's record in the last 10 or 15 years at Sanford Stadium? I'm guessing they've won 85% of their games there. South Carolina won on the road at Georgia. Plus, they've got an East Carolina win, and they're behind Georgia in the rankings. Stanford at 16, USC at 17. Oh, yeah, they played. Oh, wow, that was like 9 days ago. Stanford 16, USC 17. Even though they played and USC won the game, regardless of how they won, how many yards they gained or did not gain, USC won the head-to-head matchup. Take that a step further. Boston College just beat USC over the weekend. Both teams are 2-1. I understand that USC was considered to be a pretty good team, a top 15 team coming into the season, and Boston College was way off the radar. But you know what? That was all speculation. That was preseason speculation. That's over. They've now played games, and they played each other. Boston College won. Boston College should be ranked ahead of USC. I know that sounds crazy, but they actually did play each other. Boston College should be ahead of USC, and USC should be ahead of Stanford. Just like South Carolina should be ahead of Georgia. They played each other. Now, if USC, in fact, is better than Boston College or Stanford is better than USC over the course of a resume, let it play out that way. Let's at least watch the games and let Stanford prove over the course of a season that it's better than USC. Maybe the Cardinal will finish 11-1 or 10-2, and USC is going to be 7-5 or 8-4. Likewise, maybe USC doesn't stumble the rest of the way, or they finish 10-2 and go to the Pac-12 championship game, while BC stumbles badly and finishes 5-7 or 6-6. Okay, then we have obviously ranked them much differently. But for right now, BC and USC are both 2-1, and BC won the head-to-head matchup. Same thing, Stanford and USC, 2-1. Stanford lost to USC. They should not be ranked ahead of USC. That's insane. Just like Ohio State, still ranked number 23. The Buckeyes are 2-1. I believe Virginia Tech also is 2-1. They went to Columbus. Not only beat Ohio State, they went to Columbus and did it. And Virginia Tech, by losing to East Carolina last week, is out of the poll. That's fine that they're out of the poll, but Ohio State should be out of the poll as well, possibly. But Ohio State being in the poll at number 23, this is according to the AP. The coaches actually have the Buckeyes at 18th in the country. The AP, the writers, have them at 23. Virginia Tech should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. Are they necessarily better? I don't know. We'll see over the course of a season. Regardless, it shouldn't matter what we think when there are actual results that we can base our judgment on here. Baylor at number 7. So those are the head-to-head matchups that I see right here that makes no sense. South Carolina, Georgia, USC, Stanford, USC, Boston College, Ohio State, Virginia Tech. Those are the ones that make absolutely no sense. Okay. In addition to that, if you're just looking at who's played the best games, who's played the most quality opponents, you would have to say Oregon's got what we would consider right now to be the biggest non-conference win in college football. Maybe they should be number 1. Florida State's at number 1. They barely squeaked by Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's 2-1 at number 25. Maybe they should be a higher ranked one-loss team. Oklahoma State, if their one loss is the most impressive one loss in the country, I believe it is. They lost to Florida State, the defending champion, and what everyone considers to be the number 1 team in the country. 37 votes at number 1, while Oklahoma State then should rise in the poll. Either Florida State's win over Oklahoma State was not that impressive, so Florida State should drop, or Oklahoma State's loss was more impressive than these other losses, so they should rise. Make sense? Yeah, the voters make no sense. Penn State should possibly be ranked. That's under consideration. They haven't really beaten anyone, but still, they are 3-0. And again, once we play a ton of games, there are going to be some discrepancies in the poll that you can't avoid. There are going to be some teams that are ranked ahead of other teams that they beat or that they lost to, and you can't get around it because Team A beat Team B and B beat C, but C beat A. You can't get around that once they start playing a lot of games, and then you just have to go over the entire resume. But for right now, you should be ranking teams that beat other teams ahead of them. That only makes sense. My daughter's softball league gets this right. They actually have a playoff tournament that makes sense, and they can rank teams ahead of other teams because they actually played and they beat them. So that's how it plays out there. It's even worse in the coaches poll on a few accounts here, with Stanford at 15 and USC at 21. Boston College is not ranked, and they have Georgia 2 spots ahead of South Carolina, despite losing to South Carolina at home. Unbelievable. And these are not exactly the same people, but some of the same people that we're trusting, the same type of people that we're trusting to select the 4 best teams in the country at the end of the regular season to play in the playoffs. As has been stated many times by the committee chair, we will select the 4 best teams. Like it's a selection that is completely logical. We will select the 4 best teams. We know that they're the 4 best teams because we selected them. All right, my thoughts on the AP and the coaches poll top 25 right here on Mark Rogers TV. Please let me know what you have to say about this ridiculous poll and how it continues like this right here on Mark Rogers TV.